What's up, everybody? This is the Rabbit Hedgehog with Indian of Oklahoma City, and today we are taking out the most hyped up of the new Indian Scout line, and that is the 101 Scout. The big difference between the 101 Scout and the others, that 1250 engine is going to be tuned to the maximum of 111 horsepower versus the 105. Inverted forks on this one as well. Same 4.7-inch travel up front, and the piggyback adjustable shocks for rebound, compression, and preload. So this one has a little bit different features than the other ones, as well as coming in at only having the limited plus tech package as the other ones would have them called. There are two color options. This one's the maroon metallic and white, and the other one is ghost white, with the maroon metallic being the secondary color. Absolutely beautiful and gorgeous machine. Of course, all of them going to come with the quarter fairing on there. All LED lighting all the way around on this model. Coming in at 549 pounds. Little over 26-inch seat height when unladen, 25.7-inch seat height when laden. So when you put weight on it, still a very low motorcycle. This one showing off, of course, the new 3.4-gallon gas tank, the new console that has the additional buttons for whenever you add your accessories, like lighting control or heated grips or something of that nature. That's what that is there for. In the future, if you add anything, can do compression and rebound adjustments and everything on the front fork as well. So this one has everything like the Sport Scout. It has the 6-inch riser with the moto bar as the stock bar. This is the first time I've actually seen these mirrors flipped up. Usually they're flipped down, so a little different. The seat, kind of like the Rogue seat, more scalloped. Beautiful looking bike altogether. And again, all accessories fit all Scouts this time. There's not two different bodies. There's not a Scout Bobber and a Scout Classic that has different bags and stuff that can fit all models, including the 101 Scout. So that's a big change from the original. Let's go ahead and hop up and get her off of the side stand here. Ergonomics and the controls of this motorcycle are very similar to the FTRs, like the Sport Scouts, so they brought that over down to this line along with the ride command here. They do put the USB port up here on the upper left-hand corner of the frame there. So to get this one started, you press the button there, and the power button will power up the ride command system. And it takes about 30 seconds for that to fully go through. So let's go over the controls here real quick. When it comes down to this, it's very similar, like I said, to the FTR. So this paddle's the one that forwards the screen behind the cutoff switch and starter. Of course, engine cutoff switch and starter is all one unit. Back here, you have your brights and flash to pass. So forward for brights, flash to pass. Cruise control, press in, press down to set, press up if you need to accelerate a little more, etc. Kind of a back button here, which also controls the odometer readouts. There's trip 1, trip 2, and back to regular odometer. Menu button and joystick to control. So if you need to bring up your menu when you're in a subscreen, let's say we get over to like the navigation portion of this one, and you press in on that button, it will bring out the screen there, and you can scroll with the thumbstick and hit it in, and that way you can control it and everything. You can also zoom in and zoom out on your navigation screen from that point, and also control multiple different portions of whichever screen you're on. So like this one here, you can pause and start a new ride and all that, or scroll up to exit and get out of there. All that through the hand grips. You don't have to leave the hand grip if you don't want to. Turn signals horn, little horn, but hey, most of them are. This is glove sensitive, so you can press the buttons here as well. You can go through to the main nav screen here that you can go through all your apps. There's a back button, the app screen. This is your settings screen where you can do your rain, standard, and sport. throttle responses. Again, not power modes, just throttle response. We're going to start in standard, move it to sport here pretty soon, and of course you can go forward through your screens there as well. So let's go ahead, and I got to ride this yesterday. This is just going to be a continuation. That way I could put some thoughts together, ride it today, hopefully be more clear and concise on this one, and that way we can go over the aspects of the 101 Scout. Before I do this ride, let me thank my sponsors, AGVSportUSA, for providing the gear that keeps us safe. For Doug Crawford, AMS Oil, he's the one that provides the internal lubricants and everything like that for our motorcycles, keeping them protected for a long time to come with quality AMS Oil products. And also Law Tigers of Oklahoma, out there right now being a part of the riding community, riding with us, sponsoring events, doing good for the riding community as a whole, getting out there and hopefully avoiding accidents where they'll have to fight for you in the courtroom. They actually want to advocate safety, not anything awful. So just thank those guys for being out there and doing good in our riding community. At any rate, let's go ahead and get this thing started up and we'll do a ride. All right, the new Speed Plus engine is attached to a 6-speed transmission on all units that have it. The Scout 60 remains unchanged for 24-25. It will retain the 5-speed transmission and the 999. So it's only the 25 full-size ones that get the additional upgrades with the 1250 Speed Plus engine and either the 105 horsepower or 111 horsepower. Alrighty, just starting out, one thing for sure about the 101 Scout is that it is very, very light feeling. Despite what the weight may tell you at 549 pounds in full riding condition, it simply does not feel like that. It's very flickable. Again, we are in standard mode right now versus sport mode. And she still has plenty of power on tap. The one thing about the standard modes and the rain modes and stuff is how much it changes the throttle profile. In standard mode, I feel like you gotta get like 1/8 of a throttle in there before it really starts to act. In rain mode, I feel like you gotta get somewhere around, you know, maybe 1/5 of a throttle or something. It's just one of those things where it simply takes a little bit more play to get into, and then it feels like daisical, especially in rain mode. Of course, that is to help you not spin out or anything. It's to help control your power so you don't slip your wheel out or anything. And also, when it comes down to like standard mode, it just feels like it doesn't respond as quickly. And I will say that in this throttle profile, there was a reviewer that said that when it came down to these new Scouts, they only felt alive at around 4,000 RPM. I could tell you by rolling on her right now, even though she's picking up speed, I could see why. It's because once it hits that 4,000 RPM in that standard mode is when it's starting to almost open the full butterflies up and the intake and allows it to go. So with that being said, I think part of that was in standard mode and not necessarily sport mode, because I didn't feel that the last time as much as they claimed it was. I do feel it a little bit more this time for sure, being in standard mode. Yesterday, in sport mode, I did not feel that whatsoever. It responded in all ranges, very one-to-one, where this one is very much, well, like I said, 1/8 before it really starts to do something, and then we go. Now, currently riding in highway speeds with some pretty decent wind today. We are looking at around 3,100 RPM or so, maybe around 3,000 more or less at 65 miles an hour in 6th gear. So this engine has a red line of 9,000 RPM. So quite a bit of engine left over there. And the Scout tends to build power the more you rev into it. So it does pick up speed as you go. It feels more like a sport bike than a conventional V-twin. Whereas our Thunderstrokes tend to have that right off the line grunt and torque and power. The Scouts tend to be a little bit more relaxed in the lower RPMs and then come alive in the higher. And that's what makes the Scout a very well-balanced platform for all riders, because it allows you to grow into it. Because at first you're not comfortable and you're doing low RPM, shifting it pretty early, short shifting and all that good stuff. You're just getting there basically. And then whenever you are able to extend those gears out and let that engine fly, this will reward you in both directions. It will allow you to get that power in there when you want it, or just relax. And I do like that about the FTR, and I like that about the Scout as well. They're very fire and ice, but I feel like the FTR can cruise a little bit better than the older Scout, whereas this Speed Plus engine fixes the problem where the older Scout felt a little luggish going around town. This one does not feel like it's lugging in any way, because I feel like the gearing is better set for around town style rides. We'll go into more detail when we hit just the regular surface street. In terms of rideability on the highway, the new suspension components, the upside down fork, the piggyback shocks that come on the 101 Scout, they are very well set up and they're very adjustable. With that 3-inch travel in the back and 4.7-inch travel in the front, you can work out a ton of chatter that usually comes with 43 millimeter shocks, or fork I should say. And this is very adjustable, and I just hadn't had a chance to actually adjust it to my weight on the front. But even in its stock setup, it's working just fine. I did change some of the compression and rebound on the rear shocks, and right now they are about as perfect as they can be. The front end is just a little bit chatty. I would have needed to put some preload into it and maybe add a little bit of compression and rebound, and it would have taken all that out. But the nice thing is you can feel that it is fixable, because it's not so far out of round that it's going to be easy to take care of in a moment's notice. Basically just a couple of tools to fix that. Right now in all this wind at highway speed, we'll be on a higher speed highway on the other side of the city here in a moment, but for now we're actually completely planted. I've noticed that about the Sport Scout, how planted it was, that this chassis being extremely well balanced and extremely compliant on long stretches of open road, and this one with the better suspension is absolutely just a peach riding through the city right now with all the wind and everything, and kind of the broken concrete and joists and stuff that you cannot see through a GoPro, but trust me, they're there. And we're riding very comfortably right now. The seat overall is extremely comfortable, and the riding position and the rider's triangle is not bad itself. I am around 6 foot tall and 209 pounds. My legs are 32 inches, and like I said, I got more of it in my torso than I do my legs and height, and my arms are kind of short, but I'm not really leaning forward all that much. So sitting down in the seat, from my hips out to my knees is straight. Then it goes to an almost forward mounted peg, but we're more or less about probably 2-3 inches back from a full forward mount. So you do have a slight bend, kind of like this, to where your foot placement is from your knee. So it's not straight down. Then you go back up, and your shoulders fall somewhere just in front of your hips. And then from your shoulders, your elbows come down, to between your knee and hips, and then straight forward, so you got a nice bend to your elbow for new riders, so that way they don't get overextended or anything. So that's a good deal for sure. Like I said, you can see these flags coming up ahead. We got pretty good crosswind right now, and I mean, it's really stable. It doesn't want to move from its position, as you can see when I release my hands from the bars. Very stable platform, and I can't say that about the older Scout. That's for sure. The older Scout tended to want to wander a little bit because the front end always felt a little bit light under load and condition and stuff, whereas this one feels extremely well planted. It feels like it wants to hug the road for a long duration. And I believe that you could take this out on longer rides if you so please, because it rides really well. Let's talk about this engine braking real quick out of this new Speed Plus. This V-twin does, as you can see, we're going down pretty good on speed just by engine braking alone, not even touching the massive Brembo brakes all the way down to first gear. Look at her just coming to a crawl. Very nicely done on downshifting and engine braking and everything. Very, very well done on that. There are some motorcycles that just continue to coast at high speeds and everything without hardly any compression coming back, but this one does a fantastic job. In terms of steering, it's very light on its feet. I actually scraped my foot there in that turn. You can make some turns rather easy that were normally hard for you. I'll put it that way. It's very planted. Good grip out of the Metzler tires. And with the responsiveness of the suspension, it talks really well to the rider, so you know what the motorcycle is doing on the ground. So you know exactly how to plan it and what it's doing. It doesn't chat when it's in the corners. It hunkers down precisely where it needs to be and goes around corners nicely. I'm going to go ahead and switch to sport mode here real fast. Sport mode is pretty easy to get into. All I have to do now to truly get it into sport mode is to pull in the clutch and it will set it up. Even though I'm already kind of off the throttle because I'm on cruise control right now. Now I'm in sport mode totally. Again, using that engine braking on this to come up to this light. And I mean, this thing is so balanced, you can kind of just walk up to the light, not even put a foot down if you've got enough room to play there like I did that just then, because it doesn't want to fall over. It exudes confidence, very much so. And that is something that both a newer rider and an advanced rider can appreciate, because you can use this motorcycle all over town and enjoy it. And you can also use it as kind of an advanced style motorcycle as well if you want to ride in some technical back roads and other things. In terms of the clutch response on this one, you are looking at a little better than the Sport Scout that I rode earlier. That one was a very early production model, maybe even pre-production. So it had a clutch that was not quite settled yet, whereas this one feels like if you get out to about 3.5, you can actually feel it go through the friction zone travel, and it responds really well, whereas the other one, pretty much well toward the end of the whole lever action, is where it actually popped, you know, and it was very thin on the friction zone, but this one has a traversable friction zone that you can feel all the way through it. Right now I'm riding in sport mode in 5th gear around 45 mile an hour or so, and you're looking at around 2400 RPM through the city. Engine doesn't feel boggy here. This is kind of a happy zone for it. It feels like there's plenty of pulling power whenever I put my hand into the throttle from this angle, so that's a good deal. It's pretty happy in 4th gear actually as well. You're almost at 3000 RPM, which I feel is where more of that power bend is coming on. And you can definitely rip it, as you can see, and it will start pulling away rather quickly if you are in 4th gear versus 5th. Even though 5th has plenty of pulling power to get away from traffic, 4th in town definitely has the pulling power. Again, I am using just that engine braking, and it is just so fantastic. Light touch of the rear brake, you know, for the brake light to tell people I'm stopping, but it just pulls itself to a stop all on its own. As you can see, I can get well over 50 miles an hour in 1st gear before it tags out, and then you'll go 2nd gear, so it's got plenty of pulling power. In 1st gear to 2nd gear and 3rd gear, and then it just cruises 4th, 5th, and 6th gear pretty well. So it's a good all-arounder. It's something that I can see some people doing some modifications to and bringing it to a racetrack, because it's very capable and very planted in and of itself. Need a little bit of a raising on it, so that way you can get the pegs off the ground a little bit. But other than that, super well balanced platform and a super compliant engine would make this thing a track monster in the right hands and in the right modifications. That's for dang sure. For this stop, I'll go ahead and put those massive Brembo brakes into action. So we're just going to do a clutch in, full stop here in a second. And I'm going to kind of carry this out, clutches in, and there we go. You can see this thing bites very hard and pulls you down to a stop very quickly. I haven't found where the ABS starts to knock yet, so it's not too intrusive, but it doesn't have to be. This thing stops on a dime. There's a lot of braking there for such a small motorcycle, and it definitely shows it. Very good braking package. The bite is solid all the way through. You can tell exactly how much pressure you're putting on there, and it's communicating really well with you on both front and rear brakes. Forgot to mention that down there is a brake pedal style versus the old school just peg that was down there, and that gives a positive feedback in and of itself, because it feels much more solid than that rubber covered peg. Gonna go right through the middle of this bumpy bump. Not bad at all. Again, this thing is just stopping on a dime. Really smooth brakes, really good operation, easy to use and modulate. No complaints in the braking department, either by compression and or mechanical. All is well on those fronts. Big bump going into that one. Got a little foot touch down there. Of course, I got a size 14 foot, so I always seem to touch down my feet well before the peg. Very happy to get up to highway speed. We still got that crosswind now to the left of me. So nice high, probably 20 mile an hour crosswind today. And now we're at 75 miles an hour, 6th gear. You're looking at 3,600 RPM, so we're really not taxing the new Speed Plus engine on these kind of roads if you're on the faster highway speeds. In terms of the vibrations through the motorcycle itself, the new Speed Plus does really well in handling vibrations in the mid-range. And what I mean by mid-range is anything between the 2,000 to 5,000 RPM line. After 5,000 RPMs, you do start to pick up a little bit of a buzz, and up to 6, 7, and 8, you really get a pretty decent buzz through the mirrors and everything. But right now, everything's pretty clean. So the mirrors are very clear, easy to see everything behind you. Like I said, riding right now, there is some vibration coming through the handlebars and the foot pegs, but it's nothing to be concerned with. It won't put you to sleep or nothing. It just feels like a machine, and that's not a bad thing to me. I've mentioned that many times. I kind of tend to prefer to feel the motorcycle more so than just ultra smooth all the time. I do want to know I'm riding a machine. So this one has the right amount of character in it as well. Now I-35 here is a lot more broken than 235 Broadway Extension, as we call it. And going over these rutted roads, because this one's got an actual defined rut. Most of my motorcycles like to get stuck around here or in this rut over here. This one just likes to transverse them without even thinking about it. The tires do not get stuck in these ruts. You can get away from it and you don't feel it being drugged like that. There are times I'm on even my Springfield that has the wider tires and I can feel, the rut actually grab and pull. Same with the Chief, same with the Moto Guzzi. They all tend to get in that groove. This one does not, and I appreciate that. In terms of the bounciness and everything, there might be a little chop in my voice because this road, like I said, you can feel those joists a little bit more than you can any of the other roads that I'm on usually. And it's actually very okay. It doesn't buck you off the seat or nothing. It doesn't throw the bike out of alignment. It still holds its track very well. So I really do like the way this motorcycle is planted. I like the way it rides even on these bumpier excursions here. And just a testament to how well done this chassis is. Another thing I'd like to try to point out is engine heat. We know that the original Scout can get a little bit crispy and has been known to be kind of a crispier motorcycle to ride, though I do not seem to feel that as much. Even having the FTR, I was told that one was rather hot too. But even then, I just don't feel like this particular motorcycle gets that very hot. I will occasionally, depending on the wind direction, feel some heat get up into the seat pan area and start to warm up my rear end. But I don't feel anything incredibly hot on the back side of my legs, down the side of them, onto my ankles, or anything of that nature. It just feels normal to me. I always anticipate V-twins being hotter than most motorcycles because the engine literally is between your legs, whereas on other machines that are inline, the engine's usually more forward, but that rear cylinder is literally right there between my knees. So of course it's going to be putting out some heat right there that is going to be just a little bit crispier. But after riding my night rod for ages, that was a hot motorcycle. There was no way to avoid it. You had an exhaust pipe right under your right thigh that fried you. You had a rear cylinder under both your thighs that fried you. You had the air outlet that kicked in front of your ankles, that kicked it right back onto your ankles and fried you there. There was no way to get away from the frying pan on the night rod, and that made for an uncomfortable long riding cruiser. That thing was really only good for short duration trips, nothing major after that, because you would overheat. This one is not going to do that to you. Is it going to be hotter if you're coming from a parallel twin or something that's more mounted forward? Yes, you're going to feel more heat than you are accustomed to. After so much time on a cruiser, you become accustomed to this heat, and it starts to not really bother you, or you don't even notice it at all. In this case, like I said, I will feel some heat that gets into the seat pan that will start crisping up my rear. But other than that, I do not feel anything else that is concerning or to complain about. Which is a good thing for sure when riding a motorcycle. You don't want to be too uncomfortable, because if you want to take it on a longer ride, then you want one that will allow you to do that. And I believe that in the right configuration with the right bags and everything, I believe this 101 Scout would be actually a pretty decent medium cruising or touring style motorcycle, like a light touring medium range. The only reason I'm saying medium is at a point, the gas tank being 3.4 gallons may not be necessarily enough for very long range, because you're going to get a lot of stretching in filling up your tank every 130-ish or 40 miles or so or less. So there's that to consider, but at least it gives you some resting and some periods of rest. And if you think about that, 130 miles or more is around 2 hours per tank. So that's a pretty decent amount of travel still before running out of fuel. So that is not bad to think about. All right, well, the only thing we could test our flickability and our turnability is clover leaves here in Oklahoma City. So we are going to test one here. We're about 50 miles an hour coming in, and we're going to go ahead and give her a little turn here. Oop, we got a peg touch down there with the heel of my foot. More peg. More peg. We're right around 43 miles an hour now. So I've got her slowed down to about 40-ish now. So you do touch down pretty quickly still. But like I said, raise this thing up and she'll be competent, because she's very sure-footed in turns, even with concrete that bumps a little bit. She's very easy to track and very easy to understand what she's communicating. And I really appreciate that in a motorcycle, because I want to know what's happening between me and the road. And this one does a fantastic job of doing that. So when it comes down to the 101 Scout, to me, this is the ultimate Scout. This is what all Scouts should look up to, basically. And I believe that this is by far the best handling, the best looking, and the most comfiest Scout that we have to offer that has ever been offered. The Rogue was that for a long time with the 19-inch front wheel and the different little position, but it still had 2-inch suspension travel, and this one has the 3 inches, so it just got that better thing going on for it, and it rides like it. So this is a fantastic motorcycle. Note that this one is the top of the line, so you're looking at around $16,999, but it comes with the ride command. It comes with everything that the other ones have, plus the extra horsepower and the more uprated premium suspension components that are fully adjustable. And I mean, this thing is just such a fantastic rider. It's a great all-around motorcycle. It does good at everything that I've put it through the last 2 days, and I highly recommend taking one of these out for a ride. It's a very exciting motorcycle. It's fun to ride, easy to flick around. I love how it doesn't bind or anything. I love how my hips can control it as well. This is all hip movement. This is hip and arm, and you can see that it will get down and dirty and ride really well and turn really well, flick really well. Very communicative, wonderful motorcycle. Recommend coming down, taking one for a ride if you haven't done so yet, and even picking one up and adding it to your garage to be your everyday commuter and also your light touring bike if you're looking to not take the big one out. At any rate, this is the Rabbit Hedgehog, and if you have any questions on the 101 Scout, feel free to put them in the comments below. In the description below, I'll put links to all the sponsors and also the full specifications of the 101 Scout down there as well. So at any rate, keep that shiny side up, folks, and we'll catch you on the next ride.